All right. Well, I hope this is working. I'm going to be doing a live stream. This is my first ever live stream that I've allowed to be on here, and hey, let's see how it goes. I have a couple things that I wanted to do, and I thought it'd be kind of fun. And when I'm doing my studying for cybersecurity stuff, I will be having my digital book open, taking notes, and then I will switch back and forth and maybe look at Reddit and laugh at something, I don't know, and learn something new. So let's go about and do that. Let's see how this goes. Okay, I'll start off with a bang, and let's see if we can find something interesting to talk about inside of Reddit. There was one interesting thing that I just saw. This one here, security career advice. So I've got a profile where I'm just looking at all of the security things that I've been able to find. And if you have a good security advice one for me to look at, then hey, that's great. Every 4 minutes, I'm going to be switching from looking at Reddit and switching over to studying. So right now we're in Reddit mode, and my timer is going. Let's look at this one. Which career has more security? Have two options for an apprenticeship. One is GRC, and the other is general cybersecurity, sort of a SOC role. Which one would be more secure, and possibly which is easier to progress in? All right, so I guess I'll give my thoughts on that one. Which one would be easier? So GRC or just a general SOC rule? For me, I honestly I think whatever your end goal is, that's what's going to be the the important thing here. Where do you want to end up? So let's say that to this person. Depends on where you want to end up. Picking a general security role or a SOC, a security operations center, is going to expose you to a lot of different security concepts and environments, and you're going to be able to, I think, take that role and then branch into different areas. It's going to help you picking a SOC role is going to exposure to a wide array of security events, incidents, issues, and you can take that role and sort of grow in it and sort of pick sort of an area that you would be more interested in. That's interesting to you. I pick SOC. Boom, commented. Or not. I'm just taking his time. There we go. One new comment. Perfect. Let's go and keep scrolling down. How to become rich in a year with bug hunting. Me when giving advice to newbies. Oh, great. That's what this sounds like. To newbies on how to get started with bug hunting, how to get better. Me, myself, when hunting. Well, that's a true feeling picture. Yeah, and it really does feel like that when you're just learning bug hunting and when you're just been doing it for a while too. Let's pick something that's interesting to me. None of these are really that interesting. Oh, B-sides. I did B-sides a few months ago. Oh, there's the timer. Switch. Okay, so right now I'm studying for the Pen Test Plus. I'll take it in a while. I set up a little Gantt chart for myself to sort of target goals. What are we at? January 18th. That's mid-January, so I'm right around here. And my goal was to read a certain book and take notes on it. So that's what we're going to do here for the next 4 minutes, taking notes. Validating scope. First step in validating the scope of an engagement is to question the client and review the contracts. Okay, you must understand that who the target audience is for your pen test report. You should understand the subjects, business units, and any other entity that will be assessed by such a penetration engagement. So understanding who your client is, and that's it. Understanding who the client is. What are they? Who are they? Okay. In an upcoming chapter. This, by the way, is a good book here. You should buy it. Page 44. I'm reading this book by Omar Santos, Pen Test Plus. Hello. Thank you. Okay. We are, where are we at? Chapter 9 here, or it's talking about Chapter 9. Covers the penetration testing reports in detail. Here we present a few general key points that you need to take into consideration during the preparation phase of your engagement. Okay. The entities or individuals' need for the report. Entities' need for the report. Because maybe not everybody's ready maybe not everybody's ready to even have a penetration test done on them. Position of the individual who will be primary recipient of the report. So that is the point of contact. Key stakeholder maybe. Main purpose and goal of the penetration testing engagement, and ultimately purpose of the report. Purpose of the report. The individual or business unit's responsibility and authority to make decisions. Yeah. Okay. So this would be for this point of contact that I've got here, or the key stakeholder. What is their authority? So that for me that's important because we have to figure out what do we got to do? We got to figure out where does the buck stop? Right? Is it going to be with this person that I'm doing this contract with? Hey Dan, good to see you. We got to figure out for this part if there is another stakeholder that needs to be engaged and brought into this particular contract, or just if they need to be involved. There we go. There's the timer. bring the other window over. All right, I clicked on B-sides just before our last switch over. Timer's going. I did B-sides this past, what was it, in November, and it was really fun. I need to go out and reach these people to figure out where the link is for my video, because it was recorded. I just don't know where it is yet, and if anybody knows it, throw it in there. But I gotta go find it. Anyways, I was talking about back in November about imposter syndrome and sort of how my story with imposter syndrome has shaped part of my career, and how I struggled with it at the beginning of my cyber career, and to a degree I still struggle with imposter syndrome, and it's a thing that we don't really talk about as much as professionals. So if you are feeling like you've got imposter syndrome, and we all kind of do get it, reach out and talk to somebody, and find a friend, and find a good friend that you can be like, hey, I'm not feeling good today, and hopefully they'll be able to help you out. Let's keep going. All right, Nmap. Let's see what they got to say over here. Does anyone have a unique? Yes, there is always someone faster and smarter than you. You just gotta do what you can. That's right. And yeah, and don't take it so hard when somebody else is performing and doing something better than you. What we really should be doing, honestly, for imposter syndrome is being happy for one another when somebody else is experiencing success. Because online we often have this environment, especially on LinkedIn, of competitiveness, and I really find that competitiveness that we have, especially on LinkedIn, is just kind of venomous, and it sits in you, and you think, well, why don't I have that certification? Um, and it's just not. It's not great. It doesn't help you, and then it sits inside your heart, and you just feel gross. So we should start getting into a habit of congratulating one another and just being happy, right? It's my journey. You have your own journey, right? So does anyone have an Nmap techniques for scanning for hosts while private VLANs are enabled? Please share your scan settings below. That's a very broad question. A technique for scanning for a host while private VLANs are enabled. Well, without having more information on this question, I would want to know some more information. Honestly, you'd have to have that host that's running Nmap present on whatever network that we are connecting through in order to do host discovery. So I'm not really sure what this person is actually wanting here, because there's going to be other things that are in the way of being able to scan different networks as well. Firewalls hopefully are in place to prevent inappropriate or the wrong kind of traffic from happening. But maybe this person has like a business need or something that they're looking at. We'll see. Oh, switch. Where did we leave off? We left off. We were filling out the pre-engagement preparation phase. Okay. Who the report will be addressed to: Information Security Manager, Chief Information Security Officer, Chief Information Officer, Chief Technical Officer, technical teams. Who is the report for? What was the purpose? Team. uh, specific role, CTO, CIO, CISO. That's good. And who will have access to this? That's important too. That's one we don't really think about too often, about who has access, because when you think about that, who has access, we also are thinking about how am I going to be writing this report. And in my career, I've written a number of reports, and depending on who's going to be receiving that report, I have to modify my language. Okay. Uh, Oftentimes, people up here in this range don't super care about the technical nitty gritty. I could be wrong. Maybe that's different now. But if I'm writing it for a technical lead, they will care much more to hear about some of those technical specifics. You should always have good open lines of communication with the clients, the stakeholders that hire you. Yes, that makes sense. You should have proper documentation of answers to the following questions. What is the contract information for all relevant stakeholders? How will you communicate with the stakeholders? How often do you need to interact with the stakeholders? Who are the individuals you can contact at any time if an emergency arises? These would be things that are important, and it would be sort of like an initial conversation. Like, okay, if I have an issue, like, do I go to you? Whatever. I'm not gonna write that down in my notes though. Okay. Okay, you should ask for a form of secure bulk data transfer, such as a SCP or a secure FTP. You should also exchange any pretty good privacy keys, uh, mail extensions for encrypted email exchange. I've actually had that conversation with a client when I've been doing penetration testing. Is how am I going to get this report to you in a safe and secure way? Um, and usually they're like, "Oh shoot, I hadn't thought of that." And I said, "Well, yeah, I'm gonna be sending you some pretty confidential information. Do you want it just in your regular email, or do you want it in a different way?" Some people like encrypted zips, and it really kind of depends on what your relationship is with the client. Okay, validating scope. Determine secure method of data transfer with client. That's essentially what that paragraph is all about. Switch. Skip. Ooh, this is fun. Bought a laptop for my kid. Quick scan, if this is any good. As indicated in the title, I just bought my 11-year-old a budget laptop for gaming purposes mostly. What protections would you suggest I install to protect my son and his computer? I want to protect him from doing stupid things online, from predators or other bad influences. Well, I mean, you got him his own laptop. And to prevent him from accessing adult websites. I also don't want him to do something that will get him in trouble with the law. Basically, one of the best parental security software. Also, how do we keep this laptop clean and free of viruses? Oh my goodness. What can we say to this person? Start my timer. $11 years old. Your son is a lucky kid. So I've thought about this as well. As my kids are getting older, they would like to have a computer, and I'm now at a point where I have to think like, what am I going to do for their access to the to the internet, because the internet's got a lot of stuff in there, a lot of stuff out there, and I would like them to not be exposed to the things that I don't want them to be exposed to. If I were to give some thought process, one of the first things that this parent should do is actually access their router. Okay, go and look up on the back of the router how to get into the web browser of their router, and look at what kind of security features are already present, because I kind of doubt that this person's going to go and buy some physical hardware. They've already got the router, so let's take advantage of that first, and then they could go and move on to securing that computer. There's a whole lot of things, and now that I hear that, that sounds like a good YouTube video. Here we go. Who would have thought doing a live stream would generate YouTube videos? What should we call it? How to protect my kids' junky laptop. He sounds like a kid. So I'm going to suggest that this person here, one of the first things you should do, go into that router and see what kind of security features are already present as a first step. Web browser of your currently being used router, and poke around in all the features there. There are so many features on a lot of these routers. They have the ability to block adult sites. That's pretty standard. They've got parental restrictions potentially, and then they've got another common one that's, I don't think people really like to use this one, but I've seen it used, is blackout times. So there's a period of time where you can have no internet access. I don't really agree with that one, but it is something you could do. And then additionally, a lot of routers have specific restrictions for documenting MAC addresses and IP addresses. So this person could actually go and document what the MAC address is, and then do restrictions based on that MAC address. Okay. From here, you are going to analyze all the existing security features. Maybe just talk to your kid instead of spying your kid. It's not spying. Uh-oh, my timer went. I'm going to extend this one just a little bit. I got to get this thought out of my head. I'm not going to be able to study with this poking around in my head. Analyze all existing security features. Does your router have some standard things your router may have are the ability to document which sites can't be visited, the ability to block certain domains, that's common, domains, parental restrictions. That's some routers. And what else did I say before? Coffee drink. Oh yeah, the ability to block based on IP and MAC, or to control what that IP MAC machine has access to. Blackout times, a specific device, or whole network can't access the internet. Oh, that's gonna bug me. Plus, now reading this person's their comments a little bit sarcastic, but plus actually having a good conversation with your kid makes a huge difference. I've had that conversation with my kids, and I'm like, this is the kind of things that are out there. This is why I've put some of these protective things on our network, and my kids get it, I think. With your kid about the dangers of being online can go a long way. I mean, I've been on the internet for a long time, and it's a great, and it can be a very not nice place. So that's loading. Now we can go jump back to study. Okay, questions about budget and return on investment may arise from both the client side and the tester sides in penetration testing. Clients may ask questions like these. How do I explain the overall cost of penetration testing to my boss? Why do I need a penetration testing if we have all of these security technical and non-technical controls in place? How do I build in penetration testing as a success factor? Can I do it myself? No. How do I calculate the ROI for the penetration testing engagement? Well, I don't understand why this is really part of the pen test plus test, but these are all questions that your client will ask. If your client is already going to a MSSP, managed security service provider, then they already have an idea that there is value in this. And the ROI, that's what makes security kind of a strange thing, is that you could pay $10, $15, $20,000 and you're not going to necessarily make revenue from that investment. What the point of security is to protect assets so that you can continue to make that revenue that you desire. So this would not be a question that the client, in my opinion, would be having with a penetration tester, unless you are a private penetration tester and building out your own business. Well, at the same time, the tester needs to answer questions like these. How do I account for all of the items of the penetration testing engagement to avoid going over budget? That's where the scope comes in. How do I do pricing? How can I clearly show ROI to my client? I I have an answer for that. How do I show ROI of a pen test to a client? Well, when you do and one of the things that I do on the side is security assessments. When I do a network scan or whatever kind of an interviewing process to determine where a client is at, my typical speech is, this is what I've found, this is how it's vulnerable, and then this is what could happen if that vulnerability were to be compromised. And most of the clients that I've ever worked with, they sit on that last tidbit and will be like, shoot, I don't want that to happen. And I say, okay, now you know what could happen. Maybe we can talk about a plan to protect that. Okay. The answer to these questions depend on how effective you are at scoping and clearly communicating and understanding. Scoping is the key term in that sentence. Another factor is understanding that a penetration testing is a point-in-time assessment. Consider, for example, the timeline in illustration 2.3. Pen test is a point-in-time assessment. That makes sense. It's not going to be an ongoing thing for forever. You might do gaps here and there, right? 1 year doing pen test, another year doing pen test. That makes sense. And that being said, clients change too. Who a client is in year 1 to year 5 of their existence is different, and their business needs are different. The assets that they have are different, and so you can't just do one pen test in year 1 and then have it be fine. And this picture actually does a good example. It's like 1,000 systems. Now year 2 they got 11, and over here they've got 22. So doubled what we've got since the beginning, and that makes sense. Let's go back. Why are there so many influencers? Hey, that's mine. That was a long time ago. You know what? It got a like, so let's look at it. I don't care. Why? Why are there so many influencers? So yeah, I mean, if you're watching this, you're watching it on YouTube, and I don't feel good calling myself an influencer, even though I'm on a platform that other influencers are on. And maybe I'll feel more comfortable saying that when I got like 10,000 subs, but not yet. So why are there so many influencers? So I searched for cybersecurity on YouTube. Why do I get an endless list of influencers with career path tips instead of actual content? What's the thing here? Did I miss something? It looks like a bit of all those crypto influencers at this point. That's funny. This person's got a funny way of phrasing things. Yeah, it does feel like that. And then if you go on YouTube and you search for cybersecurity, you will find a whole ton of content. Some of it is great. Some of it's okay. I'm not going to knock anybody on here, but it's kind of the name of the game a little bit. You got to get yourself out there, and comparatively, if you think about what cybersecurity is and just regular IT or other things, cybersecurity is it's the sexy side of IT. It's not as glamorous setting up a server. I mean, it's still fun, but talking about hacky hacks and nation state stuff is a different experience and lands differently online than firewall tutorials, and I have to learn that as well, because I really like learning about firewalls, and I like learning about hardware, and I like learning about the networking between these assets, but they just don't hit as good online as some other things. And I also find that sometimes there's a hot topic and influencers will just lunge at that topic. So like that Linus Tech Tips, when he had his compromise a number of months ago, I don't remember how long ago it was. There were a lot of cyber YouTubers that jumped on it. I almost did too, but then I saw how everybody else was doing it, and I was like, I don't even feel like competing with that because I can't, and that's fine. That's an interesting tidbit. Ooh, CIO interview prep. Chief Information Officer. What is that? What's that about? Okay. Asking the InfoSec community, what types of questions would you want answered from your general counsel, your legal, in an interview? What? Also, what type of issues would you want to hear a general counsel candidate speak to? Oh, gross. Backing out of that one. They got me with the title. This is getting old. 1 year ago. Oh, I like this page. They've got interesting things. Security career advice. This page has some interesting comments. Junior pen tester role, 26,000 pounds to 30,000 pounds. What is about an hour? That is about an hour and a half from where you live. So you were looking to move closer. An hour and a half is a drive. You have 2 years in help desk, CompTIA trifecta, EJPT, and you're working on that one. Glassdoor slates the place you want to be a pen taster. Pen tester. Pen taster. Glassdoor says you want to be a pen taster. So you're thinking, oh my goodness, can't read properly, guys. So you were thinking foot in the door. However, you would like a nice environment for your first role and one that you can really learn and grow with. I know Glassdoor is written by people who have had bad experiences. That's true. But there are 5 or so from 2023 that are all negative, and one that's positive. Oh, now I gotta figure out what do I think of Glassdoor. My opinion, Glassdoor, I have not typically put too much weight in what they say about much of anything. Typically, it's kind of negative things, and that's good. You should still be aware of that. Oh, there's my timer. You should still be aware of those negative things. But it's kind of like rateyourprofessor.com, which is a funny place. People that go there, you're mad at your professor and you say something, and this is my personal opinion, and you might, or you really like the professor and you go in there and you put something good, and so it can taint your opinion and sort of guide your initial experience in a weird kind of way. Okay, and maybe you don't want that. I will pause and go back to studying, and we're going to come back and answer this question. Okay. Okay. Unknown versus known environment of testing. Okay. When talking about penetration testing strategies, you are likely to hear the terms unknown environment and known environment. Pen testing environment. Unknown environment. Okay. Formally referred to as black box testing. Testers typically provide only a very limited amount of information. Okay. The tester may be provided only with domain names and IP addresses that are in scope for a particular target. The idea of this type of limitation is to have the tester start out with the perspective that an external attacker might have. The goal of this type of engagement is to have the tester starting out with only the information that a external attacker may have. Yeah. This is how I take notes, by the way. I read the things and I sort of like condense it into a note that makes sense to me. So if this works for you, then hey, duplicate the process. Sometimes the network support personnel of the target may not be given information about exactly the test. Technicians may not be given information that you are doing. Okay. And so then kind of the goal, maybe the goal is for the client to see, does my existing team detect this attack or pen test? Can we see something happening? A known environment. In this type of testing, formerly known as white box, the tester starts out with a significant amount of information about the organization and its infrastructure. The tester is normally provided things like network diagrams, IP addresses. Yes, okay. So the tester is provided with lots of information about the environment. In a known environment test, the scope might only be to identify a path into the organization and stop there. With unknown environment testing, the scope would be typically much broader and would include internal network configuration, auditing and scanning of desktop computers or defects. Time and money are typically deciding factors in the determination of which type of penetration test to complete. Yes, and that's true. A client, maybe they don't want like a massive penetration test to be conducted. Maybe they just have a single asset inside of the network and they want to just tell if somebody that's on the network could access it who shouldn't have access to it. And it makes sense. The type of engagement would change depending on money and time and what is the actual goal of this penetration test. Okay, a key topic, demonstrating an ethical hacking mindset by maintaining professionalism and integrity. There are many scenarios in which an ethical hacker should demonstrate professionalism and integrity. The following are several key items to know. Switch. Oh, we got 2 comments. So what did this person 12 minutes ago say? Just apply and ask them directly about your concerns if you get an interview. Even if you decide not to go for it or don't go together, the interview experience will be valuable. Ding. That is a great point. I'm actually going to reply. This is a great point you made. Oftentimes people will just avoid going for a job interview because of just being scared, and you can't take anonymous opinions online too seriously because I mean it's just an opinion, right? That is a great point to make. I'm gonna add my thought to this. Trying to be careful. Especially places like Glassdoor. There is often a degree of truth in what somebody is saying, but they also have their emotions behind it. They are also apply for the job if you are interested. You may find yourself pleasantly surprised. Reply. Let's go to this page itself. We got some interesting things. Five years ago. Oh my goodness. What are some oh. What are some cybersecurity jobs that require mostly social interaction? Interesting. I am not into SOC. I work in GRC as a systems engineer. I have about 2 years of experience in this profession. I still don't feel like I know much about tech, but I do know how to do security requirement traceability. Have basic experience with POEMs and SSPs. Anyways, I find myself very chatty and finding social stimulation, which can get distracting. I'm thinking that I need to find a job that has more communication involved. What sort of job would entail that? I kind of see myself exchanging ideas in collaboration to improve or suggest a security requirement framework implementations with more people. I am also interested in cloud and AI. Well, well, that was actually, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't GRC more of a human-facing role? Well, that's kind of what I thought as well. So we'll arrow up on that one. Could go into cybersecurity consulting with big four or smaller firms. I did not like attention to got under PIP. What? Here you go. So that person's looking for more social interaction, and they work in cybersecurity consulting, and it's a lot of social interaction. And I think that's honestly sort of a piece of just working in IT in general, is that you're going to work with people anyways, and if you're going to be in cybersecurity, oftentimes the weakest link for a a business is the people themselves. So you're going to be doing all kinds of like managing people's access and authentication. You're going to be doing education, right? This is the thing you shouldn't be doing. Or here's this new piece of software. Here's how to use it. You're going to be doing that as well, yeah. I'll even reply to this one. What am I say? In general, social interactions. A lot in IT. Today you were working on whatever. That's a good sentence. I did not push my timer. Ah! That's the whole theme of this thing. Ooh. This is an interesting story. Laid off from sysadmin position, want to transition to security. Hey guys, sorry in advance if this type of thing isn't allowed here. I recently was let go of my system engineer job of 1.4 years. During that time, I played around with some of the vulnerability detection and remediation, which I feel could give me an opening for junior level analyst or pen tester role. I would really like to further my security knowledge, if possible, land a security related job. What could I do in the next 2 to 4 months that could help me do this? That's a good question. I have some IT experience. What can I do to expand my knowledge? Okay, so here's the answer for that. In my opinion, I've heard a lot of hiring managers comment on this, that in the interview process, when they're trying to hire a security person for like a junior level, let's say, they will often say, if you have a home lab and you can talk about your home lab with me, then we're doing good. I've even had managers say, as soon as they start hearing people talk about certs, they just sort of tune out. And what they want to know is home lab, because home lab shows intent and a drive. Security positions talk about home labs. Tangible, great, how do I spell that one? Tangible, talk about during your interview. Additionally, getting some certs can be a boost to landing a more security specific gig. There you go. Bingo bango. That comment is done. Project ideas for a cybersecurity student. Well, that's fun. Let's talk about this one. I need to make a project plus publication for my master's degree. I thought of a home lab consisting of a security operations system, security operations center, vulnerable machine, firewall, attack machine, Microsoft Ubuntu server, but my college needed a research gap for the project and noble cause. I don't understand that sentence. And honestly, this doesn't seem like a master's degree level, but I mean, like, what do I know? Dare I open up ChatGPT and see what it says? I'm gonna do it. No. I'm logging into something right now. What does ChatGPT say for this person? I'll even fix the typo here. Okay. Ooh, look at that. All right. So this person wants an idea for their master's a project, and here are some ideas. Let's see what they are. I'm curious. I'm legitimately curious. Human-centric security. Investigate the impact of human behavior on security with a home lab setting. Analyze how users interact with security measures, identity, common pitfalls, and propose user-friendly solutions. All right. Machine learning, intrusion detection. Well, that's not bad. Machine learning, in addition to intrusion detection, that could be kind of neat. 0 day, that would be fine. Cloud security and home networks. Assess the security implications of integrating cloud services within a home lab. Explore potential vulnerabilities. They're all kind of boring. Snooze. Thanks, ChatGPT. What are these guys saying? Ugh. Let's go and study. 4 minutes on the clock. Okay. These are the scenarios that an ethical hacker needs to take into consideration for their professionalism and integrity. Okay, client may require background checks. Yep. Adhere to specific scope. Identification of criminal activity and immediate reporting of breaches. In some cases, you may find that a real attacker has already compromised the client system. Oh, okay. So, reporting existing breaches that have been discovered. Limit the use of tools to a particular engagement. Oh, okay. So you'll be limited on the kinds of tools you can use because of some kind of legal obligations. Limiting invasiveness based on scope. Confidentiality was a penetration testing engagement report, and the information that you gather may have access to during the penetration testing engagement must be protected and kept confidential. Yeah, obviously. So confidentiality of acquired client data. Risks to the professional. If you do not adhere to the best practices outlined in this list, you could be subject to fees or fines. In some cases, criminal charges. All right. Yeah. risks as they relate to non-adherence to this. This list finds, what was that one? Criminal charges. All right. Risk tolerance is how much an undesirable outcome a risk taker is willing to accept in exchange for the potential benefit. This is also can be called risk appetite. Okay, I actually prefer appetite over risk tolerance because it just sounds better. In order to have a solid cybersecurity program, you need to ensure that business objectives take into account risk tolerance and that the resulting policies are enforced and adopted. That's the timer. Cybersecurity program. How much of an undesirable outcome is a risk taker willing to accept in exchange for potential benefit? That's the key sentence there. And let's finish off our time today with one more definition here, and it's risk management. And then we'll call it a day. Oh, appetite. There you go. Risk appetite. The process of determining an acceptable level of risk. Yeah. Current level of risk, accepting level of risk acceptance, and taking steps to reduce risk to acceptable level, risk mitigation. Perfect. There you go. You know what? I'm tired. Let's call it there. And there you go. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe. That's great. And I'll be back. I'll be back later. I might do this next week. Who knows? It was kind of fun. I liked it. See you later, and have a great